Welcome to the FPC Durant podcast. I'm Garrett.
I'm Corey.
I'm Sarah.
I'm Cole.
Cole, question mark.
Are you not
We're
sure?
still trying to find the page.
Are you not sure?
What page is it?
25. We're on page 25 of the
We're on page
FPC.
25. We're singing.
25
This
on
was
your hymnals.
page 25 is hard to find.
Is this a magazine?
So the reason we're all reading magazines is because we're discussing today quite a few ministries. Now, I don't know what it's going to look like to touch on every one.
Because we've covered a lot
A
at this
lot.
point. Going through our staff.
We are.
That hits a lot of the ministries, but there's a lot of like peripheral ministries that, got no love.
Yeah.
And so let's talk about them.
Absolutely. And so we realize there's a lot, but it takes a lot to serve
Oh, yeah.
a church.
Yeah. So we can start with worship.
Okay.
I'll list. I'll read off the ministries that we have listed under worship here at the church, and we can talk about it a little bit. So. When it comes to worship, we're talking about our Sunday morning worship that we do here at the church. And what takes place there is we have our adult choir, which they're in the 8:30 service. We have our instrumentalist in that service as well. So we have our pianist, organist,
You got
the people that are gifted in that way.
rock a piano.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then the 10 o'clock and 11:15, we have our worship band. And that is what Garrett and Corey are both
Shout out.
part of.
We're in there.
Garrett plays keys, Corey plays bass.
He slaps the bass.
Actually,
Exactly.
no. I play bass wrong. Sorry. I used a pick.
We have other production things that happen during the service, like our sound and lighting, our graphics, our media production, the live stream, audio and video stuff I do. But also outside of what happens in the sanctuary, there's other worship that takes place, which is the children's worship, First Kids, and also the Light of Mind Special Needs Ministry. And so those two things are also taking place as well on Sundays.
Yeah. And did you mention the guest experience team?
Have not yet.
The greeters, the coffee bar, the safety team, and then medical response. I was unaware we had
I didn't even know we had medical
We do.
response until this moment.
That is a
I feel
lot
way
going on a
safer.
Sunday.
Yeah.
That's a lot of stuff.
We have a medical response team?
We do.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
They're secretive. They only come alive
Is
when
my
medical.
wife on it? She's a doctor.
might be.
I'm just saying she's a doctor.
She might be.
You're going to have to ask her when you go.
It's kind of like
It's like a secret society. She can't tell me she's on it.
when they get the bat signal or a medical emergency, they
So-
come alive.
So I think the interesting thing about like even just like reading a big list like that is like you have like these you have like certain things in there that's like instrumentalist for classic service or the worship band. It's like that may not be open to everyone. You have to like play an instrument or or something or sing, but like and I think sometimes when people say worship, that's all they think about. They think about a choir or musicians or singers and things like that. Then you go through here and there's like all these things that pretty much anyone can sign up and do, like with the in-house graphics. Like Cole, you run the media team and you would gladly take more volunteers.
Yeah.
Because I used to help and then they put me in the band and I don't help anymore. And sometimes I worry about you up here in the studio.
Valid.
Winging it.
But yeah, I mean, like there's people like switching cameras, they're running the sound for the stream or in the thing, but then all the way going and like volunteering in the Light of Mind service, which is going on during both services, and then just as simple as greeting people as they come in. That's such a huge responsibility because like at that point you're the first face like a new person will see, and like you can. Doing that's make or break for some people, and like, so, I mean, that's a cool, like, skill to have, to be able to sit and, like, have the energy to, like, greet people after people after people and get the door for people, and that's really cool.
Yeah.
And, like, to consider that an act of worship is, like, interesting.
I'm not texting anyone. I was looking at the Bible, actually, but, like, just hearing read, like, all the things going on within a Sunday morning and all the different skills and talents, and, I'm thinking of things that, like, I would not be good if I helped there. But I have my own little part of Sundays that I get to be a part of. It's a cool picture of the church at large, right? Like, with all our different gifts, being members of the body, being the foot, being the hand, all the things that make our church function on a Sunday is what makes the church go.
Oh, for sure.
Monday through Saturday. It's
think
cool.
so.
It's a cool picture.
All right, so I'm going to read our connections list. Under the connections pillar, we have life group leader, member and guest visitation, food preparation, homebound visitation, divorce care, men's ministry, women's ministry, senior adult ministry, Hispanic ministry, college ministry, student ministry, children's ministry, nursery ministry, First Friends Preschool, and the Epi Durant podcast. Whoop, whoop.
We're a ministry.
That's us.
Shout out.
Who knew?
I'm just learning about this. All right, cool. Yeah, I mean, obviously we've covered a lot of that in previous episodes, like Hispanic college, student ministry. We've had Guillermo, Dustin, and Sebastian on, and all that stuff. But there's still like things, obviously, that we're going to discuss men's and women's ministry in like a future episode. And so, but like, there's a lot of this that I think people don't see,
Yes.
or like they just. Like, we're recording right now on Wednesday, which means the food prep team's been here since like early afternoon, making food for like everyone on Wednesday. Yeah. And that's a baller team. Like I like that team a lot. They're fun. Like the Cachos and the Wallentines, they're great. So
Another one we haven't really talked about as much on the pod is we haven't really talked about First Friends Preschool, which is cool. I mean, my 2-year-old, going to be 3-year-old, is going to go do that in the fall, which is exciting. And then also, we've shouted out a little bit, but our nursery ministry, just a lot of stuff going on for the children. And then also, I think it's really special that we have something like divorce care.
I agree.
Just because I don't know that I've heard that a lot, and I feel like it's really important.
I didn't know we had divorce care ministry until we did an MVP video on Sunday, and I was like on stage, like looking around, like, does anyone else know we have this? Because I was like, that's like the coolest thing I've ever heard a church do.
Yes.
Because there are churches that literally kind of ostracize and frown, and like are not a support system for people going through divorce, and then like for and I'm not like trying to name any specific church. I just know that that's the reality of how some people feel about divorce. And for our church to say, hey, no, we just recognize it happens and we're going to love people, either both people if they're still here. I mean, like, it's just to navigate something so huge, in someone's life and so tragic and whatever, not to be like, well, let's like concentrate on the sin of it or what the Bible says. They're like, no, let's just love you through this and provide a ministry for people going through this. I think that's absolutely insanely cool that we have a divorce care ministry.
Yeah, and they meet here on Wednesday nights. Wednesday evenings, you can be part of divorce care at 6 p.m. when they start. I think in room 2, maybe 10, 207, one of those rooms. But
that is awesome.
And then just to kind of further expand on that, I'll read what the website says, which is Divorce Care is a divorce recovery support group to help people recover from divorce and separation. There may not be many people around who understand the pain divorce and separation has caused. That is the purpose for divorce care. The Lord says in His Word for us to cast our anxieties on Him because He cares for us. And then it goes on to say more things, but just to kind of share a little bit about divorce care.
That's cool.
That's legit.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Meet everybody wherever they are. I mean, that's a common thread with all of these ministries.
Yeah.
For sure.
So our senior adult ministry, teenagers, they meet on the first Tuesday of every month, and that's at lunch. I think they start at 11 a.m. and then do lunch at 12 p.m., but usually someone speaks, and then they do fellowship and lunch there. And I have had the privilege of being able to be part of these, being on staff
That's awesome
being
time.
able to get to those, and it's a good time.
That's great.
That's awesome. And they do trips, right?
And they do trips. They do Branson trips.
Have you been on?
Feels good.
I've not been on one.
Okay, someone I know has been on one of the teenagers trips.
Probably Cody.
I think it was Cody. You're
That's
right.
Cody's favorite thing here at the
All right,
church.
so cool. All right. Okay, cool. Yeah. Sweet. Should we move on to discipleship?
Yep, who wants
Let's
to?
do it.
The smallest pillar, I'll take it.
Smallest,
Which
yet
is
the
essentially,
deepest.
I mean, like in this pillar, like things you can be is a journey group leader, a life group leader, or a special study leader. Which, what is special study leader?
A special study leader would be
like-
an area. It usually it's not something that's always happening, but sometimes every once in a while we may have a specific course of study going on Wednesday evenings.
Okay, yeah.
Like the
all
Palmers
right.
did like a marriage.
Like young
one
marriage
on-
couple.
yes.
Yeah, okay, all right.
So during certain seasons, those might be going on,
Okay, cool.
and you could, if you feel led in that way, then you might want to lead a class on a specific topic or something like that. So that's what that would be.
That would be Men's Ministry 1B.
Yeah. Noted.
All right. All right. Cool. Yeah. And so I mean, like that's just like if you feel like led to like kind of teach a small group or lead a small group, facilitate discussion. If you feel like that's one of your gifts, by all means, then like that's something you can reach out to Jim Hodson for.
And we've talked about journey group a lot on here, so you can look at previous episodes if you want to know more about journey groups. But just to kind of share, in case you haven't heard what journey groups are a small group, usually 3 to 5 people, going through a time of discipleship for a season, usually about 9 months, maybe a year, depending on the time. But we'll meet weekly, and we'll do things like read scripture together, go through accountability questions, memorize scripture, and there's a list of things there. But those are in place, and so that we can be discipled, also disciple others, and continue that cycle on with other people who are in the church and followers of Christ. And so it's very important.
J Group information or more about that's in the Jim Hodson episode is where you would find that.
Yep.
So a little more in depth.
Cool.
All right, Garrett.
You're up. Mobilization.
Yeah,
How do
let's
you
do that.
in mind?
So within our mobilization pillar, we have a lot of mission opportunities. So the chance to be a trip leader, to go on mission. Dustin sets up several opportunities to travel locally to serve all the way across the big pond to Germany. Several different opportunities there. And then local missions like the clothes closet, service opportunities, evangelism and outreach. CR is
Celebrate Recovery?
Celebrate Recovery, a big ministry within a very impactful and meaningful ministry within our church that has been largely influential for a lot of people within our church, but for the community.
Huge.
Thankful for that ministry and those that lead. Cole, what would you add to that?
Yeah, and I'll share
That
exactly
could be its
what.
own. I feel like that needs to be its own episode someday.
I'll share
really.
exactly what Celebrate Recovery is. Though Celebrate Recovery is a biblical and balanced program that helps us overcome our hurts, habits, and hang-ups. The program is driven by the words of Jesus rather than psychological theory. This is a program for anyone who is struggling with past or current dysfunctions or compulsions, whether they are affected their own life or the lives of those around them. The purpose of Celebrate Recovery is to fellowship and celebrate God's healing power in our lives through the 8 recovery principles found in the Beatitudes and Christ-centered 12 steps. So that happens on Monday nights here at the church. There's a meal that goes on. It happens in the Student Worship Center, and then they also have their time where they meet and then go through these 12 steps together, depending on where you're at in the stage of Celebrate Recovery. But you can be part of that during those times.
Absolutely. Opportunities to help with building a facilities around here, and then one recent ministry is our foster care and adoption. So we have instances where our people have a heart for a particular need or group of people, and feel called to try to lead out in some way, and that's something that's come about that's really incredible as well. As we know, there's a great need for foster care and adoption within our nation and our community and state. So really what we're seeing, that's a big list. That's a lot of things. And honestly, kind of overwhelming to look at it and think that that is all going on within our church Sunday through Saturday. I mean, all day, every day.
Yeah.
Really.
And when you look at the list of things, you'll see that a lot of the things going on are driven by, church members, just people who are not necessarily on staff, but they're just Christ followers who are part of this church and are working hard to do ministry here on FBC. And then some of these are led by staff members largely, but not all of them. And so that's important to know. And then I also want to roll through, along with our mobilization right here that we just mentioned, we have local missions listed on here. And so in previous episodes, you saw us meet with our state, national, and international ministry partners, but we haven't talked about our local ministry partners here on the show yet. So I'm going to mention those real quick. Our local ministry partners would be an annual event that happens called Serve Durant, usually on a Saturday where a community comes together and does a lot of service projects in the city. Another one would be J127 Ministry. Another one would be under his wings ministry, which is a care ministry for widows and orphans. The fourth one would be the Pregnancy Center of Bryan County.
Center, yeah.
So
For sure.
those are our local ministry partners that we have. And then, again, a lot of people in our city and that are part of those ministries that are working hard to see those happen.
Yeah.
And we help serve and fund those.
Yeah. Of these, it makes me really proud to see how much that we do and how much we serve, and we're not just within these walls, obviously, that we're out in the community helping in all different ways. And I'm humbled because I'm not a part of the majority of those, just to know that's going on.
I think
awesome.
I think that's what it is. I think when you look at that and you start reading that list, and I think there's a humility, but a thankful humility. I don't think it should be conviction. You can't possibly be involved in everything. And so, but I do think it's me and you were on the worship team, and sometimes that takes all your headspace when it comes to church. You're practicing, you're thinking about songs, you're whatever, and you forget, I think, about all these other cool things going on all the time. And it's nice to refocus and be like, oh, that's cool. We have a divorce care ministry. That's cool that Ken's doing the choir and the other side of the music. And there's all these mission conversations going all the time. And and having all these life groups and journey groups that are happening. And I think it is cool to just pause and go, oh yeah, I'm this really small part of a bigger thing that's really cool. And I'm thankful for all the people that do those things that, like you said, I would probably be really bad at because I'm not real social or I'm introverted or whatever. And so I think that's amazing to and humbling to see all that. And even then you have we have an administration staff, we have a custodial and EVS staff. That's those are ministries in themselves, that they do all this behind the scenes work that keeps this church going, and I think it's really cool.
Yeah, we mentioned our facilities briefly earlier, but our facility is very old, and there is a committee actually that's dedicated to doing work on our facility as years go on, because there's always stuff to be done.
Yeah, well, and
in our facility,
we made a super fast drive-by of all these ministries, but hopefully, if you made it through all of it, you see something that kind of piques your interest, and you feel of all that, there should be something that you feel
you're gifted
I kind of would enjoy that, or I'm gifted in that.
A tug towards it.
Yeah, so be a part. Be a part.
For sure.
So I'm going to share what medical missions is as well. We brought up medical missions as one of our mobilization outreach ministries, and the goal of medical missions is to provide medical care for those who come to us and have no other means of medical assistance. The clinic is open every Monday from 6 to 9 p.m., except the second Monday of each month. The doors actually open at 5:30 for returning patients and at 5 p.m. for new patients. Cool. So that happens here at the church, operating out of Fellowship Hall every Monday evening.
That's awesome.
I don't know. We kind of rolled through safety team. I personally am very thankful for our safety team.
Oh, yeah. That is also the greeting team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Conveniently.
The greeting and the safety team. No, I think for sure, I think you look at even the people that do the coffee in the student worship center and stuff like that. I mean, they're kind of stepping out of service. They're kind of sacrificing their time in the service to go and do that, and that's a big move. And you're in there, and it does require a social skill I don't have, and I think that's really cool to be able to do that. But yeah, the security team, it's amazing that they're there and. It's one of those things that it's a peace of mind thing, and that it's cool that people do take their time out, and Court's always on the ready, and you're always he's right there, and so and he's got a good team, and so.
And having we talked about the medical response team, just having, like Garrett said, people all around our church who have different giftings and different talents that I certainly don't have. It's encouraging just to see it all come together for God's glory, in a way that I could have never imagined myself. But all these different things that we haven't even thought about or we didn't even know about, they're all working to bring God glory at the end of the day. And I pray that it continues to be that way, because it's not because we're all awesome. It's because the Lord gifted us in certain ways on purpose.
Well, we have a 3-man team, Craig, Jody, and Court, who build things for free in this church. They're kind of their own ministry, because they're just really good at building things, and like so they built an entire conference room in this church just because it's like, hey, we need a conference room.
They built my huge control room desk, which I'm super thankful for.
Yeah.
Jody built the podcast desk we don't ever use.
Yeah, shout out.
That 3-person again.
Yeah, so I mean, like,
for
but
3-person episodes.
that's. I mean, we even have ministries that are just like that people make themselves, and like, and they do that, and like, and they serve the church in that way because they recognize I have a skill, and maybe it's ridiculous to have a 3-man build it, but like, hey, we have time and we want to serve the church in this way, and like, I think that's cool, and I think that like speaks highly of like our church community right now, and that like they could be doing anything else with their time, and they're just like, no, I want to use my skill and time to help the church grow and meet a need, and that's really cool.
If you are more interested and you felt like we did a quick overview of these, you can refer to the Discover FBC book. It has a list of all of them, or our website. Just if you kind of heard a few things that you were interested in, and may want to go back and look at those. Those are available on our website and in our Discover FBC book, which you can get somewhere.
You can pick up in the church office.
You can pick up in the church office.
And I think like Garrett said, we'll probably deep dive into some of those ministries in the future. I know we have the men's ministry episode coming up, and I think Celebrate Recovery would be a cool one to do down the line, and like dive into more, and maybe we'll have some of those local missions partners on. But again, like I think it's just get that FBC Discover magazine book and defer to them, and if you have any questions, someone in this church will be able to answer them and point you in the right direction of how to be involved in any of that.
So these are the ministries of our fellowship here at FBC Durant, and at times you'll hear maybe more about these on the podcast, but we wanted to spend an episode just sharing everything that happens here at the church in case you didn't know or you haven't heard or we haven't talked about it on the show. And so this is it, and you can learn more about these on our church website or visit the church office to get a Discover FBC book. And with that being said,
now go and make disciples of all nations.